Okay, good evening. It's Wednesday, July 6th. We're going to take a very quick look at a couple of charts. An interesting day that is validating what I think is an indecision pattern. And it's an indecision pattern that really has some dynamics to it. But let's just go ahead and look. Here we have UUP, which is a PowerShares Dollar Index Bullish Fund. And you notice this trend line here, which was broken and then failed. And there's this trend line here, which has been solid and supportive. And you notice that we're right within this apex of this thing, no matter how you measure it, even if you went up to there, which is probably the wrong way. If you come back down to here, which is probably the right way, it shows that we've broken it like we broke it before, but it is to the upside. The dollar obviously is believed to be very weak by very many people, and that may be too much bearishness and an indicator of a contrary move. If we go ahead and look at the S&P 500, you can see that the S&P 500 is, I'll steal that for a minute, is the S&P 500 is challenging that old high. Not quite there, but it's challenging that. Very significant. Got to figure out if this is a head and shoulders or not, or if it's just an indecision pattern, because you've also got on the low side. Come on, yeah, on the low side, you are still within that same pattern. If we go to silver, which of course is one of my personal favorites to follow, I felt very strongly that this run that we saw here would exhaust itself, simply running out of buyers, leaving nobody but sellers. It did collapse. It started this pennant formation. It's worked its way out to the triangle. It can't resolve this triangle. It keeps fighting it and widening it. It broke to the downside, snapped back. Let me zoom in for that, closer action. It broke down the downside, snapped back, fell down. Now look at it. It's climbing back up. It's really working its way right out to the end of this indecision pattern. It's anybody's guess if we're going to go up, down, or sideways. So if you're a stacker and you collect physical metals, I would say continue to buy small increments of the metal as your budget allows. Put it aside, sit someplace safe, and hang on to it. If you're a trader, and I do a little bit of both, and I'm totally in cash right now. If I do a little bit of both, this is a difficult time to be a trader because I think we really don't know what's happening in this market. Here's the reason I think we don't know what's happening. I believe the markets are looking at the political future and trying to decide whether Obama is going to get reelected. And I believe that that is the indecision that we are seeing reflected in these markets. I could be wrong. Despite the fact that we have this bullish run up here and there's going to be a lot of bullish sentiment happening, it is nonetheless still below this high. It is still going to have to prove that it's not a head and shoulders. And if you look at these indicators, they're quite high. This is high. And I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to see it come back down. If we get the feeling that Mr. Obama is going to win the election, and I think this has got a lot to do with that, even though that's a year away or more. If the feeling is he's going to win the election, that's not necessarily good for everybody in the financials. So we have another, this is the DXYO dollar index. You can see we've broken that line, we've broken that trend line. We have been unable to break that to the upside. We did break to the downside. We have had the support here, and we're going into the indecision pattern, which is narrowing. So eventually it will have to make a decision or work its way right out to the tip of that indecision pattern the same way that silver has done. Here's gold. Gold stays within this major channel. It has its big up days, and has its big down days, and has its big up days. But it is in this channel. So I think that's a quick look at the market and in terms of what's going on and what's significant. So if you collect gold and silver physical, I would say keep picking away at it, but don't be surprised if you see lower prices, and don't be surprised if you see higher prices. If you are a speculator in gold and silver, boy, that's a tough one right now. I do not know what to say. And as far as people who are trying to build positions in portfolio stocks, I wish you the best, because when you have the S&P doing things that look like this at such high prices, I just can't totally feel good about the dividend stocks either, even though I do like them very much as a general concept. So there's my assessment for tonight. I hope everybody has a good week.